Hello and welcome to the ABO Outfitters podcast. I'm Andrew Murray. I'm in the studio and we are properly social distancing with Matt Byer, Evan Bungum, Joe Anderson, and we're going to be talking some turkey hunting. Here we go. And we're back, and this is the official Quarantine Podcast Network, and we are in studio today and trying to make sense of what's going on, and what a better way to do it than to talk about turkey hunting.
It's been a little while, boys.
It has been a little while.
Been a little bit.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think, initially kind of confusion and what are we doing and what does it look like for all of us, but now like I said, fortunately we're in a season of spring, at least here in Minnesota and elsewhere, and today actually is the opener of turkey season. And myself, I've actually never turkey hunted. Matt and Joe, I know you guys gave it a crack last year.
We're rookies yet. We're still rookies. We're learning.
Yes.
And so to lecture us and you guys and just chat a little turkey hunting, we brought in our very own Evan Bungum to the studio. Evan, welcome.
Hey.
What's going on? It's good to be live.
Yeah, absolutely. So Evan, I know that you've
Evan's
done.
a stud. Hey, let me just butt in here quick because we, like you said, Matt and I have turkey hunted a little bit, but he came on board and he actually was with us last year, and we had that. We posted that video.
Just recently.
And Evan was along and helped us out and master caller and he's
Taught us
got
the
some
ropes.
experience.
Obi-Wan.
He taught us the ropes. So show us
Calling,
how it's done.
filming, got it all done.
And
Absolutely.
yeah. So it was fun to experience and watch, and
Fun day.
obviously sling some arrows and miss and then but what do you know? Then he
Two
comes
birds
right
on the
back.
ground.
Yep.
Comes
Yeah.
right back and
What can you say about that? That's awesome.
it's pretty sweet. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, excited to have you here, Evan.
It's nice to be. It's different. I'm normally the guy behind the camera, or I used to be in front of the camera. I've never been on a podcast. So this is actually a first for me. So first podcast.
Are you
Let
nervous?
the rodeo begin.
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
No, I love talking. So if you want me just to go ahead and just talk throughout this whole entire thing, that's fine.
We know that could happen. Yeah, we know that could happen. So Evan is now my brother-in-law for the audience out there. This is Andrew talking. Evan married my sister Autumn, and when Evan first kind of came into the family dating my sister, he was really, really trying to get me to chase after turkeys. That was a desire of his, to have me.
3-year endeavor.
Yes, he kept saying, "I just need to get you down there once, and you'll be hooked. I know that you'll love to do it." And I'm a big hunter, but usually by this time of year, I get more excited about steelhead fishing this time of year. So I'm not as excited about going after turkeys because I'm running somewhere in the river chasing steelhead. So this year, because we're shelter in place here in Minnesota, I thought I'd dabble. But Evan has been turkey hunting for a long time. So
Long time.
tell us a little bit about that.
So I can say my first experience turkey hunting, I was probably 8 years old with my dad down in southeastern Minnesota. That's where I grew up, down by Rochester, little town called Sargent, flat country. So it's a little weird living up here now in lake country, and I had no idea there was even turkeys up here. So, I mean, this is good news for me. I can kill a lot of time. But been turkey hunting for a long time. I shot my first bird when I was 12, and ever since I watched my dad shoot his first bird when I was 8, I was instantly hooked. Just from, I call it the Midwestern elk hunt. I've never been elk hunting yet, so hopefully we can knock that off the bucket list sometime here soon. But for me, it's always been just that total polar opposite experience from, deer hunting to where, it's kind of comparable to the rut when it gets crazy, but just the ability to be able to communicate with birds. It's such a visual sport too. So I mean, and the thing that I've really cherished now the last probably 3 to 4 years now is taking other people out, because it's a great opportunity to get kids in the outdoors. I mean, it's one of the best experiences to introduce somebody that's not familiar with hunting. And even for veteran hunters like you guys, I mean, it's fun. Andrew, you're gonna love it. Like it is an awesome experience to get out there and just watch the woods come alive. Birds are chirping, turkeys are gobbling. we had to get the first one in there.
There's the first one. There's the first one.
But they're probably the smartest dumb bird out there, and that's kind of a really plain way to put it. But it is one of the most humbling animals to hunt, I think.
Yeah. No, so you have had and still have backyard pursuits,
Correct?
Which was kind of your media, outdoor media production thing, and I think that I had seen a few turkey hunts that you had filmed on there, which were amazing. But so now you filmed. You still have backyard pursuits, but now you filmed these hunts for Joe and Matt. Last year, and that was their first birds.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk about that and what it was like being on the other side of getting these two yahoos to actually arrow a bird for the first time.
You know, it's fun because you don't want to try to chime in too much, because you want to let people, you know, especially like you guys are skilled veteran hunters. You know, I want to let you guys hunt. It's like watching a dog it's like watching a dog for the first time going at your
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, let them figure it out. You know, I mean, and I am just to be clear the air here, I am no turkey expert by no means. I just so happen to have been turkey hunting for a long time. But it was a blast. It was fun. You know, and that's the cool thing about turkey hunting. You don't have to be a great caller to call in birds. My dad, love my dad. He is not the world's greatest turkey hunter. I mean, he makes screeching sounds when it comes to turkey calls, but he killed birds. So, I mean, it was fun watching you guys call, and you guys are good callers, and just the different tactics you kind of put in together. And that particular farm's laid out a really fun way. So it was fun. It's kind of, I like being in kind of the passenger seat and just watching you guys kind of go.
And help guide us. Yeah. Like,
just gentle little guides. I can't help Joe shoot, but.
Jab.
Yeah, but the second time you nailed it.
Nailed them. Absolutely
Nailed it, which is great.
And kudos you guys wanting to tackle it with a bow for your first bird too. I mean, that was kind of, I grew up shotgun hunting, and I didn't shoot my first bird with a bow until I think I was 15. So, I mean, it's a totally different game when it comes to hunting with a bow. I mean, not saying shotgun hunting is easy, but after you kill one with a shotgun, if you're a diehard bow hunter, it's hard not to want to bow hunt them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely addicting. I can attest to that. And for one, because it's something new, and for two, it's because it's March, April time frame when I'm starting to get the withdrawals of actually hunting. So It's like, hey, it's something I can go hunt right now. Just super sweet.
Scratch the itch.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I always, just being a Midwestern bow hunter, you know, really since I've started bow hunting now, I've always come into contact with turkeys while hunting in the field, and to be honest, they have always just annoyed the crap out of me as a bow hunter, as a whitetail hunter, because if you happened to set up near their roost, or if they decided to roost near your stand, literally the next 2 hours are a waste.
It'll bug up your hunt.
Oh, yeah. You can't hear anything. You know, they're just, if there's oak leaves on the ground, forget about it.
Just got to get a fall tag.
Yeah, it is. Right.
What is your experience though as a whitetail hunter? Does turkeys, like if you are a whitetail hunter and you see a bunch of turkeys around, do you experience like a lower travel path, like for like big mature bucks, like they try to avoid turkeys, or like, because we've seen some trail cam pics recently with like deer and turkeys in the same picture. Like, does that matter?
I mean,
that's a good point.
Andrew, you can go off on it. I mean, I think from just personal experience, because like it depends on where you're at and for bird density and stuff like that too. And a lot of times in the fall, they're like what they are early spring, kind of like right now. They're all still potted up together. They're in groups of, anywhere from, depends how big they are. They're from 10 to 20 to 30 birds. So that's where it gets to be. Sometimes it's almost like people just walking through the woods. I mean, it's like, it just kind of puts a halt on it. I think that's where like now, I mean, I feel like they're kind of intermingling and stuff. It's not, there's no pressure on the deer yet or anything like that. But I can honestly say, like going off what you said, in the fall, I haven't had too many positive experiences once a group of turkeys it just stormed in.
I think they're little
loud.
They're loud, and that makes the deer on edge. They're alert. It's not like they're just kind of normally feeding, or they're just they're on edge.
Yeah.
They're not gonna
Sense.
go throughout their rut behaviors or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a nuisance, for lack of a better word. They are a bother. And so now, I guess I'm excited because to Byer's point, it's a little filler hunting time season, and it's also payback for me to put the hammer down here on one of them. So I'm the true novice here in the group, and so this is probably, it might seem like an obvious question, but I'd imagine that there's other listeners like me who haven't hunted turkeys, which, by the way, in Minnesota, let's just touch on this. Specifically in Minnesota, it's an over-the-counter tag this year.
Just started
Correct.
this year, though, right?
Just started this year.
Bo's always been over the counter. They've updated the regulations this year, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you can purchase any season for gun over the counter this year.
Yes,
correct. And then if you don't fulfill your tag,
you can go back
You can go back for the fall season and purchase a fall tag, which I just clarified when I bought my tag, so that's why I was up to date on that.
And technically, this happened to me 2 years ago as well, too, for anybody out there that wants to bow hunt. After you buy your bow tag, you cannot go and buy a gun tag. So once you've committed to using a bow, you're shot. Because believe me, when you get down the last week in May and you haven't filled your tag yet, it's desperation times of you just need to put a bird down. So that's where you want to have a shotgun in your back pocket. But that's the thing, though. If you get a gun tag, though, you can bow hunt with that gun tag. So there's and correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong on that, but
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not for certain.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they're the same price on the website. Yep. They're probably just trying to get kind of demographics of who's buying what. But it is, and the season is through May 31st.
Yep.
It's interesting that they went to over the counter. Obviously, the populations must be continuing to increase in Minnesota, because I'm a transplant to this area. I've only lived in this area for a couple of years, and then previous to this, I was in further northern Minnesota, where there was very few birds up there. And then growing up in southwestern Minnesota, in the last 10 to 15 years, when I was down there in high school and such, there wasn't near the amount of birds. And now, a decade later, it's becoming a problem. So
they're everywhere.
They've kind of made a resurgence. And I mean, I took some notes earlier. I mean, going all the way back in the 1930s, birds were almost extinct in Minnesota. I shouldn't say extinct, but there was very few numbers and located in very few places. And, in the last 10 years here, they've seen, I had no idea that there was birds in the Brainerd Lakes area up here. So
and then that farm that we hunted last year, that guy actually got nuisance tags this year. That's how many he's got on his property. So,
and it's kind of unique seeing them too. I mean, they all kind of group up. I mean, turkeys typically won't travel within a 15-mile radius. They kind of stay in that kind of core zone. Once they find a place that they like, they won't go interbreed with other pods of turkeys that are distance away. So that's kind of where once they find their home range, they're kind of there, and it's kind of up to that habitat and the diversity. And that's the thing that it's been fun for me before this podcast, of just reading what what essential needs that turkeys need, and kind of just like deer, they got to have the 3 key essential things for habitat. That's where up here it's trying to find those particular spots. Because the interesting thing up here for me when I moved up here, and this is for deer hunting too, is just how swampy it is up here.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed it, but it is. It's totally different from back home, where it's just rolling egg fields and oak trees, and it's just perfect.
Same.
Define perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, so that rolls nicely into what I was going to talk about with Minnesota specifically, is just, how does a person that's listening to this podcast go about finding turkeys? What's the best way? Let's say that I have a few different places to hunt. What's the best? how do I start that process? Find
Sure.
turkeys, go hunt them.
Sure. So, I mean, one of the greatest tools out there, you know, in recent times, I should say, like growing up as a kid, I've lucky enough, I had 2 family farms I can go and hunt, and there was just birds there. Never would have guessed that there would have been, you know, like Onyx now. Before that, people were using Google Maps just to look at aerial photos, but it's got so crazy good now. I mean, you can pick out what type of trees are there, what type of habitats there, all the way to the topographical, features of it. So, I mean, like, turkeys are a lot like a deer, like I said before, too. I mean, they need water. They're always going to roost, so finding good roosting trees, you know, and they need good feed, too. So, I mean, and they browse on a wide variety of different things, between seeds, between plants, bugs. So when you're really looking on a map, you know, a diversity up here, if you're looking at the white pines, I never would have known until we were on that one farm that they actually roosted in big white pines. I know they do out west, like with Merriam's and stuff like that. Never would have known because I just grew up with oak trees. So it's just, that's all I knew, you know, and then coming up here kind of opened my eyes up to the diversity of that. And, you know, so finding those 3 elements of just between food, water, and, you know, shelter for them or good roosting spots.
Sure.
And some of the best ways you can do it is just get it out and scouting. I mean, like, the cool thing about this area that we live in here is it's pretty hilly in certain spots. And if you can get up high early morning or even late at night, if you can get a locator call, like we were just talking about this earlier, didn't even know that an owl call was a good locator call. And if you ever hear them hooting or a crow call, Jeff, get him.
Yeah, let's hear that crow call from the background. That's pretty good right there.
You know, early mornings and evenings, and just listening for. I mean, birds are fired up right now, and you can get out and hear them. And a lot of times too, it's just word of mouth asking. But yeah, as long as you can stick to your maps and find a place that looks good on a map, just get out there and just start covering some ground. I mean, that's kind of been with me.
You were stout there. They were trying to throw you off the game, but you were absolutely
I'm in the
solid.
zone.
Did not get real.
So but that's kind of interesting because the other thing is, you know, can you just drive around and look for them?
Yeah,
this time of year,
it's a great.
You know?
That's what I did today.
Yeah.
I was out hunting this morning, and I've got 2 private pieces that I'm hunting on right now. But I have probably 10 public spots marked out, and the only reason that I know there's birds on those public spots is from all the way from this past fall of scouting and up until now, just driving around and looking. I mean, putting on the miles, and they're going to be out doing their thing right now. They're out strutting the fields at about 7, 8, 9 o'clock right after that first light, and just sunning themselves. So, I mean, it's driving around, and don't be afraid to knock on doors too. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say compared, and it's a good gateway to deer hunting as well too. Sometimes is just getting permission, getting permission to turkey on, and just kind of easing your way in. But I feel like a lot more people are open to the idea I've seen to letting you turkey hunt than deer hunt, because I feel like deer hunting is just such a sacred thing in Minnesota.
Yeah, here. Yeah, and that's how you guys got permission, Buyer and Joe, on that spot. It was really turkey hunting. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. I just was driving by. I was seeing a ton of turkeys out in his fields and stuff. So knock on the door, and like you said, he was just, get rid of them.
Yep. And a lot of people think they're nuisance too. I mean, they're almost like geese in some spots to where they're just overrun and overpopulated. And that's where I wish, the state of Minnesota, a lot of our neighboring states allow you to shoot 2 birds. We can only shoot 1. Wisconsin's 2, South Dakota's 2. I don't know what North Dakota is. Iowa's 2 birds. Well, actually, South Dakota's 2 birds for in-state residents. I think I could be wrong, but
that's awesome. Yeah, I know that for me, just compared with like deer hunting, I would think there's definitely a visual scouting element to whitetail hunting, but a lot of it for me would be finding a good area and maybe trail camera set up and going
another
that
great
way.
thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like one public spot that I have, and the only reason that I've known there's birds there is because, just like Buyer was showing me before, he's got a sail cam that he set up. I have a trail camera on a piece of property that I left up. I just pulled it about a week and a half ago, and I had no idea there was turkeys out on this property. And I left this camera up all fall through winter, and sure enough, there's tons of turkeys out there. Nice. But I never would have known that because I only hunted that piece once, and I just left that camera up all year round. So trail cameras are another great opportunity to find.
Nice.
What about those cell cameras then? Speaking of that, now obviously I've only just gotten a little taste of these things.
Game changer.
Yeah, like for you, obviously, it's like, okay, I had this trail camera up all year, and I didn't even know what's on it, but now it's like, okay, when do I want to see what's on my camera? You know, it's pretty
Right.
sweet.
Yeah.
So,
Super sweet tool.
They're getting more affordable too. That was the big thing right away. I mean, like there was very few companies that came out with them right away, and they were expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
we were dropping $500, $600 to get
Yep.
a cell cam. Now you can go get them for like $150.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe not the most reliable ones, but the fact that I can get a picture to my phone and I don't have to go pull a camera is huge.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
have to sun it up. for
and what's
deer
the
hunting and
monthly
such.
cost?
Yeah, there's different packages, and every single cam manufacturer is a little different from what I've seen. So I don't know. I'm just getting into that type of spending that money, but
It's not bad though. I
it's-
mean,
it's
I think
really not that bad.
Ranges from $5 to $10 a month for for per camera type of deal, depending on how many pictures you want to send and the quality. So
And that's what you just decide, like, oh, I want 250 pictures. That's going to be like $5.
Yes.
Just 'cause
Yeah, I think there's
more
different
like a data,
packages.
like
Yep.
how much
Okay.
data you're sending. to
yep,
your,
kind of like the text message data plans that we used to buy way back in the
Right.
day.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
before it was unlimited.
Yes. Is there a limited plan? Because that's
Oh, yeah.
probably what I would
There's an
want.
unlimited plan.
Oh my gosh. that'd
Yeah,
be
there's an
terrible.
unlimited plan. You could blow up your phone all day long if you want to,
I know.
with
That's so addicting.
every leaf that blows by and every other little. So yeah,
Right.
but they're sweet.
well, let's tell me more about, or tell the audience more about, what do the turkeys like right now? Today was opener.
Today was opener.
Weren't out there. Sorry, I had another job I
It
had
was
to take care of.
cold.
It was cold.
Yeah, Evan made
really
you made it
cold.
out this morning, didn't you?
I got about 2 hours of sleep last night. I was every year I think I've made opener every year since I've been about 12, and it's just been a goal of mine not to miss it no matter what. Even like between college and with spring football and stuff going on, I was still making the Mecca trip to come back home to my family farm and hunt. But it was cold this morning. I mean, birds are they're grouped up. I sat until probably 10 o'clock today, and I was hoping to catch a tom to break off, but it looks like hens are starting to move. I was driving around at about 11 and 12 and saw a bunch of them just milling around on the road. They're already looking for nests and stuff. And we're in kind of a flood warning right now in our area. If you've seen that, some of the gravel roads are all flooded out. So that's one thing I've noticed in Minnesota. The last couple of springs have been really wet, and
We had
that's
really late snows the last 2 years
Yep,
too. Where
and it's
I noticed,
really pushing back because when hens lay they don't actually make a nest. Hens or a female turkey will actually just lay her eggs on the dirt or they kind of pick thickets, and they'll just lay their eggs right on the surface. They won't make a nest or anything like that. So once they've committed to that spot, they're on a pretty much like it's 25 to 28 days incubation period, and they don't leave. I mean, they'll leave to go feed and stuff like that, but they're on that nest. That's why, with like what's going on now, it potentially might be pushed back. We've had kind of a mild, I should say, spring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it should be a really good year for turkey numbers, I think, this upcoming year. But I think right now, I mean, they're still kind of potted up. I think as the temperatures start to rise here, like I think Friday is going to be a good day because it's starting to heat up, is that once we start to push away from these 30s and 20 degree, I mean, it's been snowing every day for flurries and whatnot, but I think they'll start to get, I mean, they're fired up this morning. I mean, they're rocking and gobbling, but at this point right now, they'll gobble at anything. So that, which is the tough thing, trying to pull birds out of groups, and that's more of just setting up on known travel corridors and routes.
it's like that cell cam I was showing you, and like I went out scouting last weekend. All the toms are traveling together right now, and there's just a big pot of toms. And then I was out last night too with my little brother, checking out a spot down in southern Minnesota, and there was another 8 toms all together feeding out in the field, making their way back to the roost, and all the other jakes and hens are all scattered out, but the toms were kind of grouped up. At what point do they start to spread out? Or
I would say you kind of have to be in the field to see it happen, because it happens pretty fast. Like they should be establishing some pecking orders. But like if you remember in the hunt from you guys last year, how that the turkey that you actually shot, Joe, remember he came running up on the hill and he's chasing that jake.
Yep.
Once they start breaking up, and I bet you it'll probably be, if we have good weather here, I bet you it'll probably be within a week or week and a half, I'd say. It's just, you kind of have to be out there to see it. I mean, they're always going to be pretty much probably potted up in the mornings. Just that first probably 30 to an hour, and then typically that mid-morning they'll break off, or that's, you know, where you can get lucky and break off and get a tom that's searching for a hen. So I would think pretty soon here, as long as we have some nicer weather.
And then as the season goes on, they continue to assert their dominance, or just kind of like a buck and rut.
I mean, as soon as those hens start nesting, it's going to be game on, because those toms are going to be broke off from the hens, and they're going to be basically out looking for whatever hen that's left, and they're going to be out there kind of doing their own thing. And that's when you'll start to see groups of maybe two toms or 3 toms together, and they'll get away from kind of that pack mentality. And that's when you start to see those jakes too, that those jakes will still be grouped up, and they kind of learn and grow together. It's interesting with jakes because they're just so goofy. If you ever, I mean, I think we got to experience that a little bit last year, and it's always fun watching a group of jakes come in. And my opinion, I have no problem if it's the last, you know, week of the season shooting a jake. Some people scuff at, like, you know, why would you shoot a jake? Or some people call him a young tom.
Right.
It's a jake.
It's
not a tom.
You can't eat the beards, can you, Bungum? You can't eat the beards.
And that's where I love, like, the hunting public guys, because they just measure the turkeys, how long the actual turkey is. They don't care about beard lengths or anything like that. So that's pretty funny. But
yeah,
it's going to get, I think with mild weather that we're having, I think it's going to be pretty awesome here in the next upcoming weeks.
Nice.
Sweet.
So as it goes into that, is there, I guess, how would you set up this morning? You know, how did you go in this morning and set up versus
how many decoys did you
So
take out,
I
or
had-
what kind of decoys?
So being a one-man crew this morning, it's tough when you're carrying 2 cameras, a blind, 4 decoys, and, you know, a chair and everything to get out there. And I think that I'd set up like 300 yards from my truck, so it wasn't too bad. But, you know, right now with them being grouped up like this, you're hoping to pull a tom out of a group.
Needed a Rambo.
That's right. I'll borrow that
absolutely.
next time. You want to try to pull a bird out, entice him to come out of his group to jump into your group. So like right now, the more, and it's different. Some group of turkeys are different. Like I hunted with a buddy out of Lake City that some day, I mean, his particular farm birds, the only way they'd come in if you had a ton of decoys. But right now, if you have more decoys, the better, I would say, compared to like as the season kind of goes on, you'd set up maybe just a breeder hen with a submissive jake. But like today, I had a half strut tom out there. I had a submissive jake with a breeding hen with a feeding hen, and I had them all kind of sporadic, but kind of in a group though. And that's all the decoys have though. If I had 5 more decoys, I'd put them out too.
Wow.
When you say submissive jake, which one is that?
That's the one where he's like in a 3/4 strut,
Half strut or quarter strut or whatever they call them.
and he's just got his head up like this, and he's just got his little dinky little beard on it. And the one funny thing, and I've killed a lot of birds on this, and I don't have one anymore because I borrowed it from my buddy for 2 years, and I finally gave it back to him. But the funky chicken, I think, who came out with that? I can't remember who came out. I think Primos came out with that like 5 or 6 years ago. It's a really unique, weird looking. It's like,
I saw that one.
it looks like a beer bottle. It's just a skinny looking thing.
Yeah.
And I just had really good luck on it. They just love it. But yeah, the more decoys you can have right now, I'd say the better. And it's always like on your hunt, Matt, last year, you switched it up right away too. I mean, it's all, and that's the thing about turkey hunting. It's just being able to understand visually and vocally what those birds are expressing and being able to react to it is going to make you a better turkey hunter, because they might see a setup and they might not like it. And you might have a tom that's going to hang up at 100 yards. He can see you, but he might not come in, and you might go pull that. Like I've had it a lot of times too, to where you'll get a non-dominant tom. And if you have a full strut tom out there, like I've got a B mobile too, but I don't put that out yet. And that's it's a big old turkey with a fan on it. And a lot of times if that bird is not aggressive, he's not going to come into it. He's going to just shy away from it, and he'll just hang up on you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened on that hunt. The landowner told us, he's like, yeah, I wouldn't even put out that jake decoy. They don't like them. Just put out the hens. And of course we're like, oh, I watched a YouTube video, so I know better. So we go out there and we put the submissive hen with the half strut jake out there to make it look like she's ready to breed, and hopefully the tom comes to kick him off. And he came with his pot of hens, and he was all strutting away, saw the jake, turned around, went behind us back in the woods. So we waited a little bit, and Yeah, pulled that decoy and it came right back in. So
It's the funny thing, though. I mean, they're so, I shouldn't say picky, but they're kind of picky too. I mean, that's where just totally depicting their mood. And you can kind of tell that by how they're vocalizing. But once you can see a bird and how he's posturing and just reacting to stuff, I mean, you can, for somebody that's a novice hunter, I mean, it takes years to be able to know what's going on. And that's where it's a great thing about turkey hunting is that it's not like deer hunting where if you bust a 5.5-year-old mature buck, you're probably not going to see him again.
Yep.
That there's a great chance, just like with Joe's bird. I mean, you shot him, and he came back in 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's to where it totally it depends on the situation, and I mean that's the great thing about turkey hunting, that it's a lot of success or a lot of failures, and there's a lot of successes too. So.
Okay, so what about calling? What about calling? First of all, is it essential with the setup that you're talking about? And if it is essential, what do you?
For what time of year, or just in general?
Well,
same thing.
Right
so like right now, they're
Yes
grouped
and yes.
up.
Yeah.
And you're saying the more decoys, the better. Get a few hens out there, maybe the half strut, Jake.
Probably
so-
the biggest pointer I can give to people about calling, and listen very carefully with this one, is because it is so hard not to do, and I'm guilty of it too, is don't call so much. Play hard to get. I mean, like growing up when I first started turkey hunting, you're so excited because you can go out there and actually be loud and make calls and just, interact with these birds. You're jacked to go and just do this. And you sit there and you hammer on your slate or your mouth call for 15 minutes and not even let them get a word in. And by that time, they're like, oh, well, in birds, that's one thing. As the season goes on, it gets harder unless don't have pressured birds. They get to know and understand what that call is, and they register that with danger or not danger. So calling less is sometimes better. So, I mean, and that's where it's great. And this goes back into the just understanding the situation and visualizing and just being able to feel what they're feeling. And basically, if, they're not calling too much, don't call too much. Like this morning, they were gobbling like fools, but I only heard one hen, and that was the one hen that I had come into my setup right away within like 15 minutes of them coming off the roost. After that, I didn't hear a single hen for the rest of the day. And it's total situational. I mean, like, we can get really technical if you want to break into what each kind of call makes. I mean, like, there's box calls, slate calls, mouth calls, diaphragm calls. There's little pusher box calls you can get and stuff like that. And I mean, for anybody that's new into hunting, I mean, get a slate call, get a box call, get a little pusher cluck call. There's a bunch of them that out there. Diaphragm calls is all I pretty much use, but those take, if you're a quick learner and you're willing to put in the time, like for me, I call all the time when I'm driving. That's all I do. I spend a lot of time on the road, and that's all I do is I do turkey calls in my car. So,
I'm sure Autumn loves that.
oh yeah. No, she's thoroughly annoyed.
Do you have a diaphragm on you right now?
I don't. They're in my car. I can go get one though. But
There's one behind us.
crow car. I mean, do you want me to kind of go into a little bit like situational, like first morning, like what I would do?
Well, no. What do you think, Buyer?
I don't know. Just tell me which calls. Like, I'm going out tomorrow morning, or the audience. They just located some birds. They're going out. They got they got their 1 or 2 decoys. They put their blind up, or they're sitting against a tree, whatever.
You'd be blown away, just like deer. Turkeys have phenomenal, not only eyesight, but they have phenomenal hearing. They can pinpoint you to, I mean, if you got a bird 250 yards away, they know where you're at, depending on the conditions. If it's super, you'd be surprised if it's super windy out, you can hammer on a box call as loud as you want, and that bird's probably not going to hear you 250 yards away.
Right.
So that's where, we'll just start off from the beginning. So it's early morning, like this morning. Tons of gobbles going on. They were gobbling at anything, car horns. They were gobbling at the dogs barking. There was a bunch of coyotes yipping this morning. They're gobbling at that. It's just kind of what they do. But I heard that hen going. I mimicked her. She basically started out with a couple of little yelps, and then she worked into a couple little purrs, and then she got excited for a little bit to where she got into some cutting sequences, and then after that was pretty much done. So basically, if you're gonna go through that and mimic that, I mean, you can do that on a wide variety of calls. You can go through with a slate call. You can do everything. You can purr, cluck, yelp. You can cut. Box call, you can do the same thing. Diaphragm calls, you can do the same thing. You probably can't get away with that on a pusher call, but I mean, you can purr and cluck on that and cut. But yeah, I mean, if it was an early morning setup, just let them know you're there.
Let out a
Let
simple
out a
yelp.
couple of really soft yelps. Always start quiet. Don't just hammer it out as loud as you can, because I've had it happen too, where if you're running and gunning and you're not in a blind, that's a whole nother setup. But if you're just going to go sit up on a tree, you know, I've had where all of a sudden there's, yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I've had it to where
Nice work.
there's birds, you know,
Jiggy on the spot.
you don't see them and they're 100 yards away from you. And if you come out and you just come out yammering, they're going to, you know, obviously just no one's going to call that loud.
Sure.
Yeah, give us a yelp.
Okay, let's find.
I know you're not an expert, but
Let's see how many I have.
today you
I
are.
have,
Oh man, look at that pile.
I don't even have my good one. I don't know where that's at. Let's do. Oh, here it is. It's stuck on the top. That's gross.
Yeah, for me as like a novice is like, okay, what's the difference
Yeah, what-
between a purr, a yelp,
Or what's the single most
like
important
what-
thing you
like
need to
why
learn
are-
so you
like
can
what
get
are-
out there and
like-
do it?
Yeah.
what
So, like-
what is that? What are they saying if I purr? What are they saying if I'm yelping? Like,
So like a yelp is just like, basically would be just like a regular communication call. It could be a feeding call. It could be in like, there's putts too. I didn't mention that. So like, I'll just do a little sequence here. So like that's pretty normal, and that might have been a little fast too. And like all these calls that I think I have like 7 in front of me. You guys probably can't see them. They all have different tones. This one's really soft and just kind of quiet, and it's just somewhat more pleasing. I have a bunch of raspy ones. I have ones that allow you the key. I mean, there's a lot of different sounds that you can make with a diaphragm call.
Yeah.
I'm not the best at purring, but I'll try it. Ooh. Oh, I can't do it now. I can't do it right
Take
now.
a swish of Kona. That'll
Yeah,
wash
that
it
might
right down. I know what you're talking about though. I've heard that before.
Well, I can get my slate call and do it. I gotta get. It's almost like singing. I gotta get my vocal cords ready to go.
but
Go
so
fresh.
that's a good point. So you say you're an expert or experienced turkey hunter. You've called in a lot of birds, but you're not good at purring. So that would mean that you don't need to purr a lot.
Or do you
to
purr
kill
on your
birds.
slate? And will you do the you know?
Right?
Like
So you can
clucking
purr.
and
So
then-
like the thing where I struggle with, and it's hard because you're supposed to use like if you're a goose caller or a duck caller, and you know how to use like the back of your throat when you're calling, you'll probably pick up on it really fast.
Make sure you're talking on the mic,
Oh, my
breaking up
bad.
on us.
You'll probably pick up on it really fast because that's how you can get that purring sound really good. I roll my tongue, so I bet I got to get my tongue going to be able to make that happen. But trying to keep it PG, sorry. That's probably the only one that I really can't do. But like, you know, you can run like a key sound, which is like a lost hen, and sometimes that drives them absolutely nuts, and that one just kind of goes like this.
Nice.
And that's
I'm fired up.
just ready to go. And it's all rhythmic too. I mean, it's just kind of how you sequence stuff, and the best way you can do it when you're out there. And it's great when you can get some older hens, or if you're in an area with some older hens, because they're most of the time they're the most vocal ones. And if you can actually get in like a spouting match with a couple hens, it's a great practice just to try to mimic what they're doing, because they're just going to get more fired up the more you kind of keep going with them.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. So if you were to, what would be just like your me, I'm going to the blind by myself. What would be your just go to get in the blind in the morning call sequence? See what shakes.
I always start out in the morning with some really soft purrs, and I go for some purrs, do some yelps, and then I just kind of wait and listen, and that's where it's a lot of just what are they doing? Are they gobbling back? Are they not gobbling? Is it quiet? Typically, if nothing's responding back to you, I just stop calling. As long as you got decoys out there and you have that visual aspect too, it's a lot of times they'll come in quiet and they'll just come right into your setup too. But I typically, and that's where, like I said, it's totally situational. If I got a hen that's going back and forth with me, I will probably mimic what she's doing, and then I'll try to compete with her, because obviously it's really hard to compete with a live hen. You can't beat that. When you've got a hen that's actually out there moving and calling, and you've got a decoy that's just sitting there looking pretty, and it's not moving, it's really hard. So that's where, if you can master calling and just understanding the situation, you're gonna get a lot more success out of it. But a lot of times, let's just say situational, you got a bird that's gobbling back at you, there's no other hens, he's just glued into you. If you want to get him fired up, you can kind of go into where we were talking about, basically, if you want to throw everything at him, if you're going to go through and start going through like an actual clucking into a cutting sequence, and that's basically saying like, yep, I'm ready to breed, come find me. And this is where a lot of times you get birds to hang up, though, unfortunately, and that's where we were kind of talking before the podcast got started here, where it's nice to be able to have another guy with you, or if you can move back just to show that bird that potentially you're going away and he's going to come in your setup. But like, if I was to go like this, and just like that cackle sequence is just like, I'm really excited, I'm fired up right now. And a lot of times you'll hear hens do that. And this is more probably that week and a half from now, to when things are really heating up. They're all the birds are fired up, and they'll do that just before they fly down from the roost a lot of times. But that's more of like an actual like fly down cackling sequence that they'll do, but they'll do that a lot of times too. So, that's kind of I'm trying to think of any other calls besides like lost hen. There's a Primos came out with them the other year, like called squealing hen. I've never heard it in the field, but it's a really interesting sound.
Yeah.
But if Mark and Terry Jury do it, I'm probably going to do it too.
Yeah. If they're howling if they're not howling, if they're gobbling at owls and crows and coyotes and everything else, then why not a screeching hen, Absolutely.
As long as you can go out there, as long as you can accomplish mastering a yelp, if that's on a slate call, a box call, a diaphragm call, a pusher call, whatever that is,
okay,
you can call in a turkey.
I like it.
I've hunted with people before. I won't name names. We'll just try this up, make a really bad one here. Where it sounded like this.
Matt Byer. Gotcha.
It actually doesn't sound terrible, but I'm trying to be like bad, to where it doesn't even sound like a cluck or a putt or anything like that. But they hear that, and that's where you can get away with being a novice hunter getting the turkey. It's not like going out elk hunting where you have to be or actually, I don't know. I can't say that, because I don't know if you have to be a good bugler to call an elk or not, or if you can just bugle. So that's where, as long as you can do a yelp, I think you can accomplish killing a turkey.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about sealing the deal. I'm in Minnesota. I've got a shotgun. I've got my bow set up for whitetail. And I guess, let's just say, bow or shotgun. Let's just say first you're going to go with the shotgun. What do I need to do? What do I need to change?
Sure.
In order to go and kill that bird with my shotgun?
Sure. My first gun that I killed a turkey with was my first gun I shot a deer with too, was my 16 gauge. I had a old Remington 16 gauge that didn't have a choke in it. I think the barrel was like a modified barrel. I mean, it had nothing special. I mean, the gun's from probably like 1970. It's old, but it worked. I mean, if you can get that turkey within 20 yards, I think I watched my brother kill one with a little Cricket 20 gauge that was like the same thing that, I mean, he had no problem with it. But I think 410s are getting really popular now too. Yeah. Where people are kind of smalling down just because I'll tell you what, if you're the go out and shoot 3.5 inch turkey load, you're going to have a
feel it.
really sore shoulder.
Jaw. Yeah. Correct.
But, shotgun setup, for sure, people first time hunting, get one under your belt. Just go out there and whack one with the shotgun unless you want to jump in with the bow. Bow hunting, we'll get into that. That's a different game. But shotgun, I mean, as long as you got 410, 16, 20, 10 gauge, some people like to go with those. I've seen some old vintage 10 gauge single shots. But a modified choke or an improved choke's fine. If you really want to get fancy, you can go out. Like I had my 870 Express, or 870 Magnum that I have, and I've had that gun forever. I've shot deer, pheasants, turkeys with that, but I just threw on a modified turkey choke on that, and I mean, I could, with a 3-inch shell, I could shoot out to 50, 55 yards accurately and shoot birds. So I mean,
is there a specific load then?
There's a lot of good brands out there. I haven't really, I couldn't tell you. I haven't shot a turkey with a shotgun since I think 2014. It's been a hot minute since I've shot one with a shotgun. But yeah, I mean, any brand out there, Heavy Shot makes a really good brand. That's what I used to use, but there's so many good brands out there. I mean, go on YouTube, look it up. That's the best advice I can give. Do your research on it. I mean,
sure.
Because I've shot one just going out there with a regular shotgun, but you for sure don't want to go out there with just bird load, because I've had that happen to me on a bird back in 2013 at my family farm, where we don't have a lot of birds, and birds get to be really old and mature there, and it's just annoying because this one particular bird's been on our farm for like 4.5 years or 5 years, and haven't been able to kill it. Finally got a crack at this thing. I had a shot at about 45 yards through just a little bit of brush. I missed, and I didn't even realize that my second shot that I had in was actually like a 5-shot pheasant load, and it didn't even phase them. I mean, that's one thing I'll say about turkeys. They're tough, like really, really tough. I've watched my dad just roll a bird before, and it do a complete full somersault, and he didn't hit it in the head, he hit it in the body, and that thing just to get up and run away. So, I mean, being accurate, that's a big thing. You're shooting for the neck, shooting for the head. No body shots. I mean, it's not like you're shooting a buckshot and you're going to drop them. So,
like, do they make a turkey load? I'm so like,
There's
like, that's what I'm saying is like, do you use lead or do you use steel? Like, is it double BB?
I don't know if. That's a good question. I don't know if steel.
I have zero idea.
I don't know. I just pretty much. I mean, there's a ton of brands out there, from Remington to Winchester to Heavy Shot. I mean, the list goes on, that they all have their own specific turkey loads that are they're designed to give you, and ideally you want to have that 5-6 inch tighter pattern you can get. Right. And that's where a lot of people end up missing too, because it's not like you're spraying out 7-shot for clays.
Yep.
Gotcha. And the audience, they can go do your due diligence and put a piece of paper up there at 30 yards and shoot your loads that you're thinking of using in the field, and then find out what your pattern is and if it's acceptable to shoot a turkey or not.
Yeah, for sure. Get out and practice. Always go out and shoot.
All right, so let's talk about the bow then. If you're gonna go with the bow, your average, whitetail hunter is gonna go out and try and shoot with the bow this year. What changes with that? Is there anything you need to change with your setup, first of all? And obviously where you're shooting at the turkey is a little different. So
Yep. So I mean, like, if you're going to go out bow hunting, I mean, like, I think the acceptable draw weight in Minnesota is still 40. I think they lowered it to 40 pounds. I've watched my brother kill a turkey at 40 pounds. So, I mean, whatever your whitetail setup is, it transfers right to turkey hunting. If you want to get into broadheads a little bit specifically,
yes.
I mean, because there's a wide variety of personal preferences out there for what people want to shoot and do. Some people think that, if you got a speed bow that they want to just blow through that bird, a lot of times it's best to tune down your poundage and have that. So if you would just say, like for me, I've shot Rage since Rage came out, and I haven't shot anything else different. I just have always been a huge advocate of shooting Rage, and have never had a problem with
Rage in the cage.
Rage in the cage. But you know, of having a lower poundage, like I'm shooting right now, I'm shooting like I think 60, 65 pounds right now. And I may, if depending on where your shot placement is, you may still blow through a bird. But if you can get that arrow to stick in that bird actually and do more damage, it's probably better. But that's where bow hunting gets really tricky with turkeys, is because it's 100% shot placement. I'm a personal belief to where I don't think it matters what broadhead you shoot. I feel like they have the same lethality, and it's just the same thing with anything. It's all shot placement. You've got about 3 different windows you can shoot a turkey at with a bow. I mean, yeah, obviously you can schlock them and shoot them in the head if you want to do it that way. Right underneath their breastbone on the wing. I mean, I don't know if we can throw up like a actual visual overlay over this. You can shoot them from behind when they're fully strutted away, right in the middle. I mean, you have, for example, this beer can. You have about a 1 beer high, 1 beer wide kill zone on a body of a bird.
Right.
But that's where
That's your kill zone
like
right
this.
there.
I still have beer in there.
That I almost tipped it the other way. You know, and that's where it gets to be tricky, because a lot of people will swing and miss, and they'll, you know, and that's the only bad thing about shooting with a bow, is where if you don't put a good shot on a bird, that bird's going to run, and they run fast, and there's really very little blood trail you're going to get. That's where I've always shot Rage. I've seen some pretty crazy entry and exit holes shooting with Rage. So that's the only perk I'll give to shooting mechanicals over.
Sure.
But yeah, shot placement's everything. And as long as you can make a good ethical shot and realizing what your capabilities are, and this goes back in the practicing too. I mean, like, you're not going to be, unless you're in a Mike Dudley, kudos to him. I've watched him make some crazy shots on birds. I think there's a YouTube video of him shooting one at like 100 yards or something nuts like that. But if you're only confident of shooting that at 20 yards, don't shoot past 20 yards,
Right.
because then you're just going to be flinging arrows.
Yeah.
But sometimes it comes to that. But you know, long as, yeah, I think whatever broadhead you have, it's all shot placement.
Sure.
And I think you can get away with whatever your whitetail setup is, taking it to the turkey woods.
Yeah.
I'll say one key things they have, if you plan on running and gunning or being in a blind, get a kickstand for your bow. I didn't get one until like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Just to be able to have your bow stood up and ready, because especially if you're not in a blind, I mean, they see every little movement. So the less movement you could have and be at the ready, it's better. Yeah.
Right.
So I know that there's a million other details that we could all go into turkey hunting with, because there are probably hundreds of YouTube shows about calling or anything else. So this is a fun episode to talk about turkey hunting. It's time of year, and we appreciate you coming to talk about it, Evan. What's your, I know that you talked a little bit about turkey hunting with your dad and down on the farm, but what's your best turkey hunting memory, would you say?
My best turkey hunting memory. Wow, I have a lot. I'll give 2, because I have one that's vivid in my head just because it was with my dad. I'll never forget hunting with my dad. I must have been 10 or 11. So I think I was 11, because the year before that I could actually go out and do it on my own, because I actually shot my first bird by myself when I was 12. I went out, I don't know why I didn't come out with me. I shot one by myself. I was pretty proud of that. But
Nice.
My story with my dad, though, we went out hunting, and he had a regular shot. Why he decided to put a camo cloth over his bow or over his gun, I don't know. Being inside of a blind, it doesn't really matter. So
Sure.
he did it this way, and to top it off, so he couldn't see his sights. So how this hunt basically broke down, it was right off the roost. We had 2 toms come in. They were just 15 yards, chip shots with a shotgun, and came off the roost. First off, couldn't see his sights. He didn't realize that he put in 3.5 inch shells in his Remington, and he only accepts, I think, 3-inch shells. So first shot misses. Complete just whiff. Well, not only couldn't see with his sights, his gun got jammed. So he's got this shell that's halfway ejected, and it's stuck in there. And these birds have no idea what's going on. They're just sitting there oblivious to the world, looking around. I think it took him almost 3.5 minutes to get that shell out, and these birds were still there. And by the time they must have moved back to probably like 40 yards, he finally got that shell out, and he finally shot one.
Wow.
But why that was, I don't know, it's just a funny story to how turkey hunting could be.
Yeah.
Things can still happen if the worst happens. It's hunting, you know.
Yeah.
But probably one of my other favorite memories is probably hunting with my little brother, getting him his first bird and just the experience with him and how jacked he was. And that's where, I mean, that's for me, for turkey hunting, I love taking other people out and just seeing them have it, because it's just that first time out there is always fun. So I mean, that's probably for me. Otherwise, my first bow kill was pretty exciting too.
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's go turkey hunting.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I think I'm ready. I'm ready to give it a go.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time. So what's going on here at ABO Outfitters during our quarantine? Fortunately, we have had a lot of video that's been stocked up here over the last year of different hunts that we've been on. Elk hunt, my moose hunt. We've got a couple of other hunts, whitetail hunt,
Some muley hunts.
Muley hunts. Matt and Joe we just released their turkey hunt here from last turkey season here in Minnesota. And so Ryan Schiller and Evan and Joe have been able to spend some time, which is awesome, in front of the computer getting some of those hunts wrapped up. And so you'll be seeing a lot more video content coming out. Definitely make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page, and you'll get to check out that video content, which is going to be awesome. We've previewed a few of those. Evan's edit on the moose hunt, and it is amazing. The elk hunt is just super cool. There's just emotions throughout that whole episode. Right. So looking forward to you guys seeing that.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, dude. Like,
yeah,
just with ABO Outfitters and how we're continuing to grow, and it's slow growth, and it's, but like with that, you know, like just within the business, but just like with the YouTube channel, the social media channels and everything, like the more we do, it's so fun and cool to be a part of, like, you know, it's such a cool, fun group of people, and continue to grow a following that's just, it's awesome, and get people engaged, and to be able to like release these videos and just to get awesome feedback, and so it's fun to see, you know, some of this stuff come to tuition, and just some of this stuff to come and get released, and no, it's exciting for us to, like, for sure, it's
like, amazing. And it's just you guys do such excellent work editing. It's amazing to see these films and these short edits come to life after hunting and going through it, and then actually seeing almost your interpretation of the hunt, you know, of how it goes down.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I showed the moose hunt to my family, and there was this emotion that was there. I mean, there was actually a couple people said they were tearing up over it, which is, you know, it's just not because of the hunter killing the animal, but just the whole experience of being in the outdoors and what happened. So
yeah, Evan killed that.
Yeah,
you killed the hunt. Like, to be a part of that hunt would have been awesome with your bro. Like, Evan, you put that together.
I think that's phenomenal. A fun thing too, with the group of guys that we do have. It's just almost reliving. Like, for me, editing that was like reliving your hunt. Yeah, and like just the raw emotion, and even with like your guys' elk hunt and stuff like that. Like, I want to be there. Yeah, I want to go elk hunting in September.
Yeah, and that hunt too. Like Schiller put that one together. He just did an awesome job of just telling that story, and obviously just brings back those memories, and just gets, anytime I watch a video like that, just gets you so jacked up, wanting to go out hunting. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So we haven't even released those videos yet. They're sitting in the bank, so we're I mean, I'm sure they're probably come sooner than later.
Coming to a computer screen near you soon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
yep.
That's exciting time. So for sure. We have some awesome contests going on right now. Like the last few weeks, we've done like Muley. Is it Muley Monday? And,
Yeah, I've been doing a
Yeah.
little Muley Monday action.
and we have a sweet one. We have a sweet one going on right now. Lacey Sizer shot a giant buck last year, and so we have that one going on right now.
Should you
We
check
had
out
a-
our Facebook page and take your best stab at a guess at it, and see who wins, who's the lucky winner.
Yeah, we're giving away some Schwarzanker products for this one, and a sweet hat. The hat that Andrew's wearing right now. But we're looking to continue to get people engaged and get people, building that fan base and whatnot. And so we're hoping to continue to do that. So if you guys have any ideas for cool things and
let
just
us know.
obviously we love to just see people brag and put their pictures on the channels as well, and we love to see that and get that content.
Absolutely.
And so
Definitely. And on the ABO Outfitters webpage as well, we have fishing season is coming, believe it or not, even though it's still been cold here. The lakes are opening up, and so we have some great deals on Schwarzanker tackle. And other products as well. But go check that out. The giant McRubbers are still marked down big time.
Yep.
So if you wanted to stash up on some of those, the later in the year giant muskie slayer, the giant McRubber, definitely go and pick some of those up right now. And we're going to continue to build up our ABO Outfitters product line. Again, that's with all this stuff going on, that's been a little bit harder to push some of that through, but we're working on some new design concepts and putting some new swag, ABO Outfitters swag, on the website as well. So keep a lookout for that, and just keep talking with us, stay engaged with us, and we'll keep rocking away. Again, this is just kind of a fun turkey hunting episode to get everybody fired up. And hopefully if you are at home, you get out and you give it a shot. I think it's an exciting hunt, and I'm looking forward to it. If you do shoot one, off of Evan Bungum's advice, definitely post it to, this.
Yeah, give us a
Yep.
tag. Give us a tag.
Yeah. So we can see what you did and how you did it. And, it'd be fun to hear about that. So, anyway, that is Turkey Hunting 101 from Evan Bungum. And for ABO Outfitters, this is Andrew Murray, Joe, Matt, Evan. We're signing off. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.
thanks.